Yes, good evening and welcome back again to the new episode of Sapiens Talks. And today we are going to talk about how to overcome negative thoughts and self-doubt. Because in this today's fast-paced world, on fast-paced life, we are all very much busy in our life, and as a result, we have set some big goals. And when we fail to achieve those goals, we tend to become very very negative. And sometimes what happens, this negativity becomes very established in our mind, and as a result, we find it difficult to get out of that. And this can become very deep rooted, and ultimately it can cause some health issues. And at the same time, this can make us feel that we are good for nothing. We are not meant to be successful, right? So today, this is something which we are going to talk about, and we would also be talking about the possible solutions to this kind of problem, how we can get rid of such negativity and self-doubt. Because as a human being, we are not always we cannot always become successful, right? So sometimes we succeed and sometimes we lose, but it doesn't mean that we are going to lose forever, right? So how to develop that kind of mindset which is strong enough to resist all kinds of negativities, right? So let's get straight into the video. So Robin, just if you want to say something about the topic before we start, you can also say something about the topic.
Okay, so good evening, first of all, and topic as usually is a good and a very relevant one. And I have seen many videos, and since I follow many channels, and I also do read some newspapers and also go through some international media. I have observed one thing that these days people are pretty much into mental suffering, and they are trying to you know find some permanent solutions for that. And I have also observed that people across the globe have found India to be a better place where they could really get some relief from their mental illness or that agony for whatever reasons they have. Because when we talk about mental illness and this anguish and torment are possibly for some reasons, it might be some childhood reasons, or it might be for some other reasons. They always try to visit India and try to uh, practice some meditative lifestyle in order to experience some solace, some respite, right? So today's topic is very relevant because the entire world is talking about it. People from different domains are coming together and taking you know new you can say steps, or doing some campaigns in order to ignite that awareness in the mind of the people that yes, this is the right time and the high time for people to be aware about the mental illnesses. So we all know that yes, what happens when people are really not aware of this. So today's topic, which is negativity building up, as well as how this negativity building up leads us to face self-sabotaging kind of opinions, which really shatters the person from within. So this is something which is very important, and people should know about it. People should talk about it. People should try to find out the solution. So all these we are trying to cover in this one video with a topic titled as negativity building up, as well as self sabotaging or self doubt. So over to you.
Yes, so first of all, what we're going to discuss is we will be talking about the common triggers which can lead us to negative thinking and then leading to self-doubt. Because once we become negative, we start doubting ourselves, and this self doubt can always be can always become detrimental to us as a human, right? At the same time, this can also become mental illness, right? So how to get rid of this self doubt and the negativity? So the common factors, the common triggers which we experience in daily life. So what are those common triggers which can lead a person to self doubt and negative kind of thinking?
See, I mean, to be very honest, I have seen and observed quite a lot that these problems were always with the people, right from their inception, right from the first evolutionary phase of human. These problems were always there. Circumstances were different, but the mental agony was same. However, there were no proper words and terminologies
Yes.
used to identify these particular kinds of events, a phenomena, or this kind of internal diseases take place. But these were there also. So we cannot doubt the existence of such diseases, mental diseases. That it was not persisting and prevalent in the ancient period. But since we have uh, developed enough, and with the help of technological advancement, we can certainly identify with all these things. Since we are able to identify these things, so we are possibly now in a better positions to find out the possible reasons, the factors that lead us to face such kind of problems. So there are many, by the way, as I told you, people uh, with that under different circumstances have their different level of problems, and that is leading them to face these kinds of mental issues and ailments, right? So circumstances are different, problems are different, as well as reasons are also different, but the consequences is the same. And the consequences, as we are all aware of this, that if you read newspaper and if you go and check the recent data, even the most developed country, which actually enjoys the highest economic growth, also suffers mental illness at a very large scale, as the population of such country, including America, is said to be the second or the first largest country in terms of their significant populations is surviving on sleeping pills. So when certain problem arises, we need to just step back and contemplate on this issue as to where we are going wrong, right? So for to identify where we are going wrong and what are these important steps to be taken here, we need to find out the exact reasons under exact circumstances that a person is saying or person is facing. So we have number of psychologists, right? I mean, in India we have number of famous psychologists, or you can go to abroad. There are many. Even Sigmund Freud has talked more about the psychology, and there are many writers. Even I read one book written by Huxley, the perception. Uh, and that book is pretty nice. I recommend people to read that book. So everyone's talking about psychological event and psychological treatment, right? So for this, we need to identify what are those possible reasons. So I'll count you some general reasons, which often are found to be more generic and found to be more, similar in most of the cases. And I think these are the reasons which really, comprises a large number of population into its grip, right? And causes suffering to them. So, first example, like one which I even faced sometime. I mean, it's something which I'm not taking as an experience of other. It's my personal experience. So, one is perfectionism. Perfectionism
Yeah.
is a certain kind of you know uh, situation or a state of your mind where you are not satisfied with whatever you achieve, or you are not satisfied that
With
the
whatever you are
ongoing
doing so far,
the
whatever you're
ongoing
doing and you've been doing.
yes, the ongoing trend, even when you are growing and you are developing and you are also getting a lot of things, right? But you are not satisfied with that. So after a certain period of time, such issues, when arises, in such a way where your mind's not able to cope with that, and then you fall in a vicious trap, right? And then you get triggered on some slight issues. So first of all, it causes you internal issues. For example, you are not satisfied. You always start living a life with an utter disappointments. You don't smile, you don't laugh, you don't, cooperate, especially in the social gatherings. You don't participate in many such events, because then other possible traits and symptoms start arising in a personality, as to start living aloof, completely, separately, and you don't like company at all. So all these things come together as a hammering on your overall personality, right? And then you find it's really hard to cope with that. So perfectionism is something which is one of the most common reasons that leads people to face this negative mindset. And when you have a negative mindset, make sure that it is make sure, I mean, it's not something which I'm saying is this, but when you have a negative mindset, it's also possible that this negative mindsets leads you to face and develop this self doubt and self sabotaging kind of attitude, which you don't recognize in the early phase, but it is visible after a certain time being passed, right? So therefore, perfectionism, I call, this is one of the most common reasons which actually makes people fall in this kind of negativity trap of thoughts, and which people should be pretty much aware of it and should try to cope with it, as also try to find out the possible records, so that they could actually be out of the trap, right? So this is one example, this is one reason. Other reason is also a social pressure and a peer pressure, which you call a competition. I mean, undoubtedly, this entire world is growing with the degree of competitions. You can see the pace of competition which is growing, right? It is somewhere very maybe good for the society's development, but when you have a lot of pressure of competition and peer pressure, then it's something which is very much likely to happen with you, is the stress development. And when the stress develops and it's makes you fall ill on several aspects, physical, mental distress are the common symptoms of this. People who are into the competition have a lot of expectation from oneself, and not being coming to terms with these all kinds of conditions, which is essential requirement to meet with the competition, also makes people to feel that yes, he is not sufficient. And then again, as I told you, once the negative thoughts develops, the second thing which is very much likely to happen is to start having self-sabotaging kind of opinions, which is also self-destructing. Because when you have this kind of personal opinion about yourself, there's a possibility that in the next few years you might succumb to even the slight incident in your life as it happens. So therefore, I always say that one must be in the surveillance and in the surveillance and under a good instructions of some psychologist, or you can say even the parents, because in the competition world, many people in their young ages need to leave their home and to settle up some other countries and to settle up some other regions in order to get some jobs. And when there is no company around, this is very possible and probable that people being ill, mentally ill, and being physically distressed and being anguished for whatever the reasons, and no one is there to help the person. All these things combinedly make people feel utterly make susceptible, highly susceptible, and this susceptibility leads them to collapse at any point of time. So two reasons which I told you: one is perfectionism, which one must be pretty aware about it. Second is peer pressure, which is a result of overbuilding competitive feelings. Okay, even in competitive feeling, we don't give a damn to even our friends or the family members, because we develop this kind of habit in us, and we start treating other as a something, not more than a competitor, right? So ultimately we also lose the union, the companionship, which is also an important factor to live a healthy life. I mean, you can ask yourself, I mean, how we can live a healthy life. We can live a healthy life only when we have a feeling of compassion, a companionship with the people around us. So ultimately, this competitions makes us completely isolated, and makes ourself alienated itself from the entire society and the cooperation. So ultimately, all these things make life hell, and negative thoughts and self-doubting. This habit once developed and reaches to that extent, then it becomes almost it's severe, as well as uncontrollable, because even the psychologist at certain point of time can't do in this. Many actors, many Bollywood actresses we have seen, and their fate, we have noticed how it all happened just because of the two reasons: perfectionism, and the second is social pressure, peer pressure. So how these handle it, so we all know about it. So these are the general reasons and the examples we have, so we need to learn, from these. So these two reasons, which I think are the best and the general reasons for which many people are falling in this negative thought process, and this is further leading them to face this self-sabotaging as well as self-doubting kind of psycho practices. Yes, over to you.
Yes, nice, because what I believe is, if you think that you can afford, doing something, if you think that you can enjoy, doing something, then it's okay. But if it is going to affect you in any way, whether it's mentally or physically, then I don't think that it's going good doing that, or good overdoing it, because overdoing is always going to harm you in some ways, right? So one more thing, as you talked about, perfectionism, because I've experienced it myself. I've seen people, I've seen myself as well. uh, let's talk about some skills being performed. When somebody asks you to perform in front of somebody who's mastered a particular skill, what generally people say that let me become perfect first to face this person, right?
Right,
Then only will I perform in front of the person, and this can never let us perform there, right? So
right,
this sense of perfectionism is going to hold us back. At the same time, it will never let us open up.
right,
Right. One more thing, as you talked about, is that peer pressure, right? I've seen even societal pressure is also there, right? Because if the family doesn't say anything, then the society is there, and they'll keep poking them, right? That means you've been a failure, or you haven't performed as much as you could have done, right? So these kind of pressure will always affect a person if they allow themselves to be affected, right? So a person should be keeping these things uh, aside, and focusing on how much they're enjoying something. As
right,
long as they're able to, or they're able to pay the price for something, it's okay. But if is beyond their capacity, right, then they should be leaving that forever so that they can enjoy, because we are here for a very limited period of time, right?
right,
This is it's true that we are not going to be here forever, right? So why to waste our time, waste our life living life which is not at all going to which we are not able to enjoy, right? So we should be living a life in a way which we can truly enjoy. It's not that we are showing people that we are enjoying. We should feel it within, right? So one more question I'm gonna ask you is, can you tell me that people sometimes, when they fail and they haven't tasted success, they've started, you can say, the kind of doubt, they start doubting selves and themselves, and they start talking in that similar way, right? So if they keep talking about me, talking very negatively, can this affect a person's life? Or if it can affect a person's life, then to what extent or in what way a person's life is going to be affected if they keep talking negatively?
right, right. Say, I mean, this is truly a fact that what you think you become. So, for a certain period of time, if you maintain a certain thought process and you are thoroughly being aware of that, and sometimes you do it consciously, then there is a greater probability that you to be the same person, a same version, a same product of your own thought. Even if you go and check any scriptures which comes under the Hindu philosophy, you will say the creation of everything is possible just because of the word, the utterance of a word, right? So that power this word possesses. So we cannot, neglect it, undermine it, especially its significance, as when it is trusted upon people with a certain degree of, confidence, a certain big degree of, you can say belief. Then this is possible. A person is likely to be the same, right? So many people think about to be a great success in future, and they follow the same path, to enjoy the same particular word, the thought process. And they, in many of the cases, are seen to be living the same life. One of the examples we have Shah Rukh Khan, that one, his famous part of his saying earlier when he first arrived to Mumbai, and standing some corner of the Mumbai, he announced, I mean, to oneself that he is going to be the king of the entire Mumbai one day. And then later on, we know that how he did all these things and throughout the journey, and how he became really the king of the entire Mumbai, even the entire Dubai. The kind of respect he enjoys, the kind of the passion with which people meet with him across the globe is what tells about his success. So everything is possible, and everything could be possible only by the thought process you keep, right? So when you say you have a negative thought process, and that is you are aware about it, then there is a possibility you could be in the same way in the next near future. Okay, so when you have a self destructive thought process, and this is consistently nudging you to behave in the same direction, and then you follow the same path, there is a probability that you will end up doing something negative, right? So, and there is no rocket science in that. There is no scientific investigation to be done in that, and there is no scientific evidence required to prove this particular thing. It's very fact, right? When you have a negative thought process, negative means negative. When you have a negative thought process, your overall conduct, which is, you say, something very, you know very important. I mean, conduct is something important, for any person to achieve something in their life, right? So without following a certain code of conduct, a disciplinary lifestyle, or you can say a certain disciplinary austerity, what you can say. So without following these, you cannot achieve that level of success. And negativity is contrary to that. So negative thought process holds you back, hampers a lot of opportunities, and many things, it comes as an obstruction in your way, so that you always feel that you are not worthy of doing something, right? And you ultimately accept that you are of nothing, you are of no admiration, right? Many things, thoughts such like this, as I've discussed with you, somewhere collectively, make you believe that you are good for nothing. And once this thought process gets stuck to your mind for a longer period of time, you see all this thing happening before you. So it is not just people need to tell you that what the attitude, what the conduct you are, showing and displaying, especially in the society, especially being a human. Everyone knows it by your own personal conduct. So I always believe that ne- holding negative thought process, which leads to self doubting, practice, often makes people feel and face all the similar instances that they have seen and visualized before him in their overall thought process, because negative thought process is all about practicing or visualizing oneself in a certain kind of embodiment, in a certain kind of character. So that is basically possible thing. So I think and this has been proved multiple times, by the way.
Yes. As it is said that uh, if you want yourself to be successful, then don't forget this thing that you become the kind of means you have to choose what story you want to tell yourself, because what is, means the kind of story you're going to tell yourself, that will be that story of your life, and you will become what the kind of story you've decided for yourself, right? So instead of talking negative, and instead of thinking about negative, we should be having some actionable plans, and we should be starting working on those plans so that we can reach somewhere. I cannot say with confidence that you'll be reaching a particular place, but you'll be reaching somewhere that's guaranteed. If you have started working on some
Right.
plans and plans which are realistic, because if
Hmm.
you have set some unrealistic plans for yourself, which if you have set some unrealistic goals for yourself, then saying that you'll be reaching somewhere is going to be foolish, I would say. So a person has to be very much realistic. A person has to be very much optimistic, because being optimistic costs us nothing, right?
Yes.
So why to choose this negative life, right? We should also always be going for the positive side, as nobody likes the negative character in a movie. Everybody likes the I would say the hero and the actor, right? the person who is actually taking the positive side. So
Right.
next question, for you is
And
to,
one more thing before you go ahead, the next question. You might have heard about the manifestation, right?
yes,
This
manifestation, yes.
this
So
yeah.
so why means for example, let's talk about the mantras. What are mantras? They are the collection of words, right? So why do these mantras can create some power, create some I would say some kind of magnetic power, I would say, that things start happening. And the law of attraction, the manifestation, is also the form of the same, that we tell ourselves some positive words and they start doing some some magic, right? And magic in the sense, nothing means the whole world is not going to change, but it will change the mental state of yours. It will change your outlook. It will change your means the behavior. It won't change the behavior of people. It will change you, and then the people will change for you, right?
The
So
one thing the one thing which is very very interesting to find out here, whenever we read any philosophy that comes under the ambit of the Hindu philosophy, and this all deals with a certain degree of vibration, which is an utmost requirement if you really want to produce certain effects out of a particular
yes,
chant of a sloka. So for
yes,
example, if you are chanting a particular sloka of a Bhagavad Gita, or let's say Rig Veda, or whatever Hindu philosophies, so if you put a thrust a little bit emphatically, right, if you chant something pretty emphatically and you produce that vibration which is the requirement of that particular chant,
yes,
right, it is likely that you will produce the result for which the particular chant is used or for particular
yes,
sloka is used, right?
yes.
So that's how the entire thing works.
The some people say that mantras don't work. Actually, they work when you chant them with the same vibration which the universe
Yeah.
is actually emitting, right? So your vibration must match the universe, universe vibration, and then
Yes.
there will be the marriage of these vibrations, and the effect will be produced, right?
Right.
So yeah, and these mantras are basically the sonic signs. Sonic means sound, and the
Yeah.
mantras are basically sounds, and they are said in a said in a very in a particular sound, and then they start producing some 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 you can say
Right.
magic and all. You might have also heard that whenever we say that's om, so it has to be chanted with that particular vibration. There is a kind of
Absolutely.
vibration in your throat when or in your nose as well, some
Yeah.
humming sound comes. So that is important, and then this starts working. My next question for you to answer is, tell me, how can a person identify the patterns of negativity and in the process uh, hold it from spiraling?
Okay. Say, I think I'm pretty happy just because of the kind of service which is at our disposal, and that too in terms of this media services, YouTube services, and video like us and other channels. Moreover, medias and electronic medias are also working combinedly to make people aware of all these things happening, because such a situation was and such an opportunity and such a condition was not available before. Many people, as I told you earlier, right in the beginning of this discussion, that such problems were always there and be with us and will remain with us forever. So there is not an absolute or a permanent eliminations, and it's not possible that we could eliminate it permanently or uproot this entire issues right from its root. It's not possible. So today at least we have those channels, and by a particular joining with the channels we can really find out where and how we could tackle these things right before even visiting a particular kind of doctor psychologist, right? But as far as these mental issues are concerned, I always think that a person must be in whole awareness as to what is happening to oneself, because when we talk about this negative thought process and how it spirals up, because one thought process then it develops into some spiral motion, and that comes into the vicious cycle, then it goes on and on and on, but repeatedly and ceaselessly, right? And thereafter it causes a lot of problem, right? Ultimately it causes many things, such as it reduces your overall productivity. Moreover, your concentration is divided. Moreover, your work which you could achieve in the minimum time takes a lot of time for the same thing. So these things become a problem as a result of all these kinds of mental illness. Now when you have this thing, the best thing to, as a remedy of it is that be be in a state where you are absolutely in the know of what is happening to oneself. And this is pretty possible today. I mean, many people say it's impossible and we can't do that because it requires a hell lot of concentration on oneself, and in this world full of emotions, full of turmoil and a pendulum like situations, how we could even focus on oneself, even reaching to the highest state of meditation, which is also not possible. Then one must understand that when you practice this and when you practice for a longer period, see, every treatment, every remedy is there which functions after a certain period of time. There is nothing like which gives you, benefit effectively right from the first day. It's not possible at all, and we should not expect this. But there are certain techniques and trips. If you go and do something under the tutelage of some, elevated saints and elevated gurus, I believe that yes, they provide you certain kind of remedy and relief. But on your part, you can do several other things. You can like search any video, and on your own you can find out where you are lacking. I mean, these are the same symptoms as we have discussed earlier. That for example, what that if we continue to think, which is very much negative of nature, if we continue to have, you know thoughts which is self-sabotaging, or you can say self-destructive, so all these things are the symptoms of that you are moving ahead in what the directions of negativity, and you are building it up, right? So these are the things which one must notice first of all. Unfortunate is this, that people in the business of their life don't even acknowledge it. Even after they acknowledge it, they actually let it go, considering it's a part of life. So this is the biggest, issue and the problem with the people, that they don't give a much sincerity, a kind of attention that it requires. Even today, you go to any up outskirt of the city or any village or the remotest part of the country, many villagers even are not aware. 60%, as I told you, according to the data, more than 65% of the people living is still in the village, right? In the rural area, right? Many people are not aware of the mental diseases. I mean, many of them, if they start having such mental issues, they are declared as insane, unsound. And now this certain fear, which is there and which is very common among people, some there hold them back to even disclose their mental state to their own family members, right? So when we talk about remedy, when we talk about how to get rid of these kinds of things and how to protect ourselves from not facing this negativity building up within oneself, it requires full support, not just of the society, but also of family members. And this is not possible in the remotest area where people are completely uneducated. So therefore, there must be a full consensus on one thing, and the consensus should be on that, but that yes, all people should recognize a certain kind of mental status. Secondly, it should not be, declared as something which is held to be unsound and insane, because when you call someone insane and unsound, the person started being treated as someone mad and crazy, and ultimately it loses its overall, you can say, image and respect in the society. Ultimately it leads them to, commit suicide and everything that happens, right? Many people start calling them mad. You might have heard in the pictures a person behaving in some errant manner, and the same person is being called as mad and crazy. Even 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 after knowing that fact, that there are certain mental diseases which requires an utmost attention, and until this cooperation is given to them, it's impossible to treat them. So the first and the foremost thing which I want to say is that initiate right from your home, take a help right from your family members. Second, keep yourself under notice to oneself. How? Because if it's you who should be aware of each and every movement or movement, whatever you take or a step that you do, especially your overall kind of thought process that actually runs within your mind, you should be well aware of that. And once you are aware of this and you know the generic terms and the generic reasons and the symptoms, then you could take some initiations in that, and some some good steps right in the beginning, and that's how you can deal with this. Open to you.
Yes. So the next, question before I'm going to ask you a question, let me tell you one thing that what I believe is, the same kind of, things as you told, but earlier as well, but we didn't have the terminology to name them, right? This happens, when we are expecting a lot. This happens, when we are, comparing ourselves with others. This happens when we are not accepting the things, and this happens when we are not able to, stop holding on to something which we think, is very precious for us, right? Because once we've, accepted the reality, once we've taken it for granted that yes, this is, something which you could do, and there is nothing, that is, under your control. And then I don't think that, this problem is going to be there, right? Because people don't think this way. They start, because they see the world around, they see the people around, and then they want to be like them, right? If you stop, being like them, if you start, being yourself, being yourself, sometimes it is also taken otherwise, right? Being yourself means you don't want to change. You have to change when change is required, right? So if you start, applying these things in your life, then I don't think that, people are going to suffer these kind of,
Right.
problems. But it's easier said than done. We can say this,
Right.
the person who is actually going through this will
Yeah.
not be paying attention to all these kind of, solutions. So my next question for you to answer is, tell me the strategies which a person can apply or implement, so that, he or she is able to come out of this mess, I would say, right? Because everybody has got only one life, and everybody is meant to be living this life to the fullest, right? And if they don't actually realize it, and they don't actually start, working on it, then the life is going to be a hell, right? Because only they can understand what they're going through, right? So what are the strategies which can help a person overcome and get out of this self-doubt and negative, thinking?
Okay, but before I start, especially as a response to this of your questions pertaining to the remedy, a possible remedy to a person who is suffering from this kind of mental illness, I must admit one thing, and with all honesty, that first of all, I don't get any expertise on that. So perhaps I'm not the suitable person to direct someone to adopt such certain behavior in order to, face certain
We can
situations and
just say,
advocate for what.
whatever we do, and
What
whatever we have seen, resulted from, sorry,
Ah,
results from.
I will discuss all those generic ways which people know, but just because of it has become too much general and therefore people have lost their belief in that. It's very possible something which is available at a cheaper price is always neglected, right? So it this you can call the human psychology, and something which is served with some higher prices or for higher prices, even when it doesn't serve the productivity, people will all alacrity accept that. This is the brutal reality, and nothing can be more ironical than this. So therefore I always say that there are certain strategies, and for that strategies we really don't need certain guide and instructor to come and help us in that way. It requires only your self discipline, a conduct of austerity with which you could achieve it on your own. Many people have done it, many good people who call them some success and whom we read and write and we talk a lot about it about them. They have done the same thing, and these people were same like us. There's no doubt about it. Jaddu Krishna Murthy, you might have heard this name. He's a famous philosopher and he is a very brilliant person. He was a brilliant person, however, he is no more. But he has been the 20th, 21st centuries, you can say, the Indian philosopher. He dealt with a lot of psychological issues. He dealt with, psychedelics, right? And all these drugs. So, what I'm talking about is this: people must try to focus on their every possible conduct that they experience and that they trust in the society, right? Because this is something very important. Until you observe oneself or yourself, it becomes so hard to notice your all those changing in your undercurrents. People who are not aware about oneself, how could be possible to even find and look for certain permanent remedy? And therefore these the same people and category of people who actually approach and knock the door of some psychologist, and the psychologist is always up in arms to even rope them off with some big amount in the name of psychological treatment, right? This is pretty much happened, and they earn a lot of things. So meditation, what I say, is the most appropriate and the pertinent remedy that any person could be benefited of. It requires a certain discipline as well as certain instruction. Doing something under a certain guidance literally provides a good results in a short span of time, and which has been proved now and then, now and again. Trust me. Now, when you understand all this philosophy and all this particular kind of thing as to how it works, you understand. So there are some realities that one must check. I mean, whenever we build up some negative thoughts, one must try to find out what is the reason for all this negativity that is arising for no reasons. So when people start questioning over one's self status or mental status, it is the beginning of, you can say, finding a remedy. Until you start questioning over your over self mental status, you cannot even find about and seek for a permanent solution. So when you start questioning over your mental status, then you trust yourself to find more ways to get rid of this situation. There you open more ways for yourself, and thereafter you come across with many kind of treatments and many kind of self practices which many people do and literally take the benefit of it. One thing which is very much easy a person can adopt in their lifestyle and can certainly heal one's mental agony, whatever the kind of it is, or trauma, or even mental illness, mental distress, whatever it is, can easily achieve it, is that to understand few facts about life. I mean, Bhagavad Gita is one of the greatest preaching, you can say, you could have ever had on this planet, that deals, I mean, thoroughly and with a great elaboration on this meditation and how it helps you many ways. So when you understand and all these things and try to apply in your own life, there is a possibility that you can heal yourself without having a third person intervention into your lifestyle. So first thing which I want to say, that go on with your own personal remedy, and that remedy is to do self observation, notice your each and every conduct, and try to do it on a regular basis. Whenever you find that you are going errantly, or when you are behaving errantly, or you are behaving some in a weird manner, then you need to acknowledge that and try to find out the possible solution for that, right? So when you do this, I believe that yes, you can certainly at least prevent your being to be further from the further damages, right? Especially your mental state, right? As it usually happen with most of the people who doesn't even think about getting any sort of treatment. So you will be at least in the safe zone. That's what I believe in. And thereafter you have a lot of other sources, then you can go for and enroll into and can get a permanent help. I mean, Honey Singh, you might have heard about the Honey Singh, this
Yeah.
pop singer, was in a depression for more than 2 or 3 years, and he was put to some heavy doses of psychedelics, I mean, drugs, right? And then after 2 or 3 years, you could see the bounce back. His recent song, which is Millionaire song, has reached to the notch of 10 crore of views total. So he has become a great success again. So what I'm telling is that remedy is always there with you, but you need to be aware of everything what you do and accept any anomaly that you find in you, not just accept it, but also try to find out the remedy so that you could, overcome this and move ahead in the life. Over to you.
Yes, it's been rightly said because we have to know ourselves, we have to know our nature, and we can see some changes, some anomalies in our behavior, in our life, or in our you can say in whatever we do. Then we should be consider it. We should be considering it as an indication that here is an
Right.
indication, and you should be starting working on your on yourself, and so that you can bounce back if you have somewhere if you have lagged behind, or if you're not doing well, or if you have lost control over your mind on yourself. Then one more thing I would love to say is this is also I've been learned from Bhagavad Gita, that one must be practicing acceptance, right? This is the bestest way I would say, because once you accept the things, then you have no complaints actually, and it should
Right.
be accepted wholeheartedly. It's not that you are accepting for the sake of acceptance, right? You have to accept it wholeheartedly. And then there are so many practices you can do to overcome these challenges and difficulties, and then whatever you can name it. For example, you can go for meditation, but there is one condition. Meditation cannot be done with your agitated mind. You have to you know you have to calm yourself down, right? And this can be done when you let go of the things, right? uh, why do we experience these, you can say negative, aspects or negative, things in a life? Because we are holding on to the things and we are not letting them, letting go of them. And this is the reason that we experience all these kind of, anomalies, right? So once you are done with this, you should be, you can meditate, you can do anything which suits you, because I will not say that everybody can meditate. It is all about a person's, choice. If they
Right.
enjoy meditation, they can do this. If they don't enjoy it, you cannot force yourself to do something, because you will not be enjoying then, it then, right? So these were the things which we were, talking about, and now it's time to take your leave.
Yep.
We'll be coming with some interesting, conversations in the days to come. So hopefully you will listen to it and you will get benefited from it, right? So
Right.
I'm taking a leave, and then I'll see you in the next video.
Yeah. Good night. Bye bye.
Good night.